but you can brew any format. So back to our commander here. This is the guy we're building tonight. So Yarok the Desecrated. It's 2 mana, black, green, blue. Legendary creature, elemental horror. So we could build in an elemental sub-theme, which was mentioned, and I think would be kind of cool to kind of get those little elemental triggers, especially if we have like the royal elemental and stuff, and we can really kind of just play with that whole theme. That you are 100%, sir. Landfall does have a lot of non-combat damage stuff as well, but there's no harm in slamming in with Omnath. You are 100% correct. So let's get on the Yarok here. He's got Death Touch and Lifelink. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Sounds awfully familiar, right? So for any of us that have been in the game for a while, there's a card that was printed in Kaladesh, or it's Kaladesh Block. I think it was Aether Revolt, maybe, called Panharmonicon. Panharmonicon does this exact same effect. In fact, what it does is anything that has what's called an Enter the Battlefield effect, or an ETB, for anybody that's new, it's going to trigger twice, which is absurd. Okay? So that's what this whole deck is going to be built around. That's what this whole thing is going to be doing. How can we trigger things twice and get the maximum value off of that build? All right. So let's start out. So King Kuba, you got a couple cards in mind, my guy. Start throwing them out there. Let's pull them up. Let's see what we can build out here. We have the first one here is Squandered Resources. We're just gonna look at that guy real quick and talk about this. So throw them up in the chat. 100%. We'll add them right through. Right. We're gonna put our doubling seasons and our parallel lives, and we're gonna talk about those kind of things here in a sec. So Squandered Resources is a green and a black mana. It's an enchantment. It says sacrifice a land. Add 1 mana of any type of that sacrificed land they could produce. This guy here, I'm not 100% if I like it. The only reason why, I'm not a huge sacrifice the land person, right? It's never been my thing. I do run a Titania deck, and God, I wish she had black, because if she did, this would be a shoe-in in that deck. But what's your perspective on this card, King Koopa? You know, throw out your thoughts on how this card kind of interacts with this build. Put them in the chat there, and let's all talk about it, and let's kind of air it out. And while we're doing that, I'm going to pull up some of these token doublers, just so that we can kind of to just talk about them while we're going over this stuff. So let's talk about Doubling Season, because this is a nice one to put in this deck. So Doubling Season is an enchantment. It's 4 mana and 1 green. It says if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. If an effect would put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many of those counters on instead. So for this brew, this just makes double tokens. Not only does it make double tokens, but if Yarok is out, it's going to make double tokens, right? So with that kind of kicked in there, whenever I play 1 land and I have, like, I don't know, a Rampaging Baloth out there, I'm going to make that beast token. It's going to trigger again from Yarok, but that token trigger is going to go up twice because of the Doubling Season. That's the thing that really, you know, kind of matters. And it's an amazing effect, and they stack really well together. King Kuba, let's see. So for me, it's for Landfall with Splendid Reclamation and World Shaper. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. So you want to sack. So I kind of, okay. All right. I can see that. So I'm going to add these in, and then we're going to talk about one of the decks that are in the standard meta right now. For those of you that play Magic in there, have you heard about Bant Scapeshift in the standard meta right now? Or more exclusively, Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead. So, Field of the Dead. I'm gonna add that in just because you said that, King Koopa. I really like where that's going. Now, would I sacrifice all my lands? Definitely not. But I could see definite strong powerhouse value out of sacking, I don't know, 4 lands. I kind of like that. And then with the Crucible Worlds triggers and all that stuff, I see where you're going with this, and I like it. I like it. So, Squander Resources we'll put in there. We'll put it in a Parallel Lives. If anybody has any thoughts on that, let's we can throw that out there. There is a card out there called Primal Vigor, and it is a token doubler as well. But the token doublers, this is what's called a global effect. Okay, so you want to be very careful about global effects because you're giving that benefit to your opponents as well. Now there are some decks that really capitalize on this, right? This is not one of them, so we're not going to go into that strat. What are some other token doublers that were here? We're gonna put in Scape Shift up, but throw out some more token doublers while we're talking about this brew. Bant Scape Shift. Going back to that, it plays Teferi. There's also a Yarok Scape Shift deck, right? Sultai Scape Shift. Scape Shift says sacrifice any number of lands, search your library for up to that many land cards and put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library, okay? So what this does is it enables us to sack like 4 lands right off the rip, right? You tap 4 lands for Scape Shift, play it, sack it, get 4 more lands, put them out there. You've lost no mana in the process. But you get those landfall triggers. And that's what King Koopa's bringing up in the chat right now. Scape Shift is an amazingly powerful card that really didn't get its time in the limelight until recently. There were decks in the past that ran it in a couple different formats. There's a modern Scape Shift Valakut deck that just runs nothing but mountains and kills people that way. But Scape Shift in this deck is very, very powerful. And it works extremely well with a card called Field of the Dead. So we do not know our landfall threats yet, but we're just brewing out kind of ideas overall. We're going to get into our creatures here in a second. So we're going to do a little bit more of a structured build, but I want to kind of dive into the things that were brought up in chat. I like the ideas of them. We're going to start out with our creatures first. We're going to spend about 10 minutes on each, I don't know, facet, if you will, of the wheel that is Yarok, right? So we'll spend about 10 minutes going over our creatures. We'll spend about 10 minutes going over our enchantments. We'll spend about 10 minutes doing our instants and our sorceries and all that stuff. That way we don't get like overrun with information. But these are cards that I really think are built strong into the deck and help benefit us as we build it out. That's all. So Field of the Dead, whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie token. So this effectively just gives you 2/2 zombies. And if you just happen to Scape Shift 4 lands out, you're going to get 4 of those landfall triggers with the Field of the Dead out there, which are going to double with your tokens. And it's just a very, very powerful deck and a very, very powerful strat. So with that said, let's dive into the creatures first. Let's talk about those. So we're in Sultai colors. We want to focus on those landfall triggers. We want to make sure that we're benefiting maximally from those specifics. How do we... What are some creatures that we really would love for this deck to work around and really capitalize on that value? Ob Nixilis the Fallen, that was the one that we read in the beginning. I definitely like it for this deck. I think that it's got a lot of value that... I mean, I think we can capitalize and use it more effectively in this deck than elsewhere. Avenger is a shoo-in. How do we feel about Obnixilis? Do we like Obnixilis? I think he's a shoo-in with the deck, but it is a group stream. It is a group brew, so I want to make sure that we're all having a piece of this, right? This is our baby. This is the DeckDesign baby. So we're gonna throw those in there. Avenger. We talked about Avenger in the beginning. Avenger is just, if you're brewing a landfall deck, you just run Avenger. That's really where it is. I mean, sorry, that's your standard. If any of you have an argument against it, throw it into the chat there. We can talk about it and kind of brew it up. Do we run the Balos, right? So Rampaging Balos is one that we had talked about. Let's look at our landfall creatures. So let me try to get my syntax right here. All right, so in the history of Magic, we have 33 creatures that have landfall effects on them. So let's peel through. 33 creatures in Sultai colors that have landfall effects on them. So blah blah blah. World Shaper. I do like World Shaper. Let's hold on to that until we get our landfall kind of triggered creatures put in there. I think that we're probably going to run. 20 creatures seems a little bit hot and heavy here. We don't want 33% of our non-land cards to be our creature cards. I don't know if that's an agreed upon statement, but how many creatures would you guys run in this deck if you just had to throw a dart at a dartboard? Would you say it's 50% of your 60 that are available? Let me know in the comments there. So with the Baloth, I don't know if I want to run the Baloth because I think we're trying to go wide, not go tall, right? So going wide means we're going to put a lot of tokens onto the board, right? Going wide says I have 100 4/4s. Going tall says I have one huge 100 indestructible trample flyer, right? Those are your differences. Or you have two 50/50s or something that's insane, right? You have fewer creatures, higher power. I think this is a go wide strategy that we're trying to brew here. Let me know in the comments if we like that. But like I said, we got about 10 or 15 minutes to throw these creatures in here. Would we run the Balos? Back to that question. I don't think it's a go wide. I don't like that guy in there. That doesn't seem to be solid value. Ba-da-da. Life gain? I like life gain. For 3 mana, let's talk about Grazing Gladeheart. So, landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 2 life. Now, we don't want to hinge ourselves and say that we're always going to have our commander on board because, let's be honest, we're not. All right? It's one of the first things that gets removed, usually, unless you're playing some really hateful shit. So, if we play a land, we gain 2 life. If we have Yarok out on board, we gain 4 life. How do we feel about that? We'll sideboard it and we'll talk about it. There is Jotty Offshoot. You are correct. Hedron Crab. We can mill them out. That would be funny. It's not going to be our win con. We're definitely not going to mill people out in a commander game. It's rare. If you're going to mill people out in commander, do it all at once. Don't do it incrementally. So, we definitely want tokens. We are 100% correct with that one, my friend. A Jotty Offshoot with it's a 1 mana drop, so it's a creature that comes out early. It is a solid blocker. I'm hesitant to add it. I like it, but it's on the chopping block. Let's be honest here, because we might be able to get some stronger value out of other things. The Lotus Cobra. So the Lotus Cobra, I think we're going to put in because one of your lands gets you 3 mana right off the rip. And I think that we can't ignore that value at all. That's just a ton. We'll go wide. Avenger, Rampaging, Spore Mound. Ooh. Yeah, Royal Elemental, 100%. I love it. Um, sorry, I'm flying through here. So, Rampaging Baloth, we're going to add that into our token strategies here. Royal Elemental, we're going to add that in. We're going to gain control. So, it adds to that go wide, but if somebody has some, you know, this is like a win card. That's it. So, like, you would play this later in the game, and if everybody's got blockers on board, you just pull enough of the blockers out of the way. This is like your escape shifty, squandered resources win here, where you just dump 20 lands onto the board, and when you do that, those land you just steal every creature on the board. That just opens you up to overrun everybody, and I like that. Dun, 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 dun. Let's more go wide. That's a go tall. So that's a great example of a go tall. I did, yes. Dread Presence. Is that an enchantment or a creature, Koopa? So let's go back to our list here. We got our Jotty Offshoot. We have our Royal Elemental. What other creatures would we add into this in these colors, right? Would we add... Whenever a swamp enters the battlefield. Ah. I like it, but here's the thing, right? So we're in a 3-color deck. So if we try to brew it dead even, how many of our lands are going to be swamped? Now, before any of you are like, Urborg, I get it. I get it. But if you're sitting with this in your hand for a couple turns, but yeah, so it does work with Urborg, and I think that that's brilliant. But if this is in your hand at the beginning of the game and you're doing incremental damages, it's something we want. I'm not arguing with you necessarily. I just want to make sure that it kind of fits the build presence. That's all. It fits kind of the mold of what we're trying to do, and to do it consistently, right? So that's the thing that we really want to hit on. Let's sideboard it and see what our colors scheme kind of looks like at the end, because we don't want to build an interaction that works with 2 cards, right? You don't want to say, oh, well, I put a Famished Paladin and a Wizard's or a Sorcerer's Wand in my deck. I'm going to get infinite life. It triggers out of it when it gets lifelink. You got 99 cards. We got to make sure that we hit all those things. That's where our problem really comes into play. So I love the idea, though. Just tossing it out there. That's all that matters, my dude. That's all that matters. So, creature-wise, I feel like we need a couple more creatures in here. Let's outside of landfall effects. Let's talk about some stuff that works with Yarok, that isn't necessarily a landfall effect. It's a landfall deck, and we're going to capitalize with that. But are there things that when it enters, it's going to give us double tokens? Things that Nissa, that's mana ramp, yeah. Yes, sir. Ooh, I like it. I like it. Okay. So top card, if it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. Yeah, I think this is a great card. I think that this fits our mold and really what we're looking for, and it flips into a planeswalker. And up until recently, there isn't a huge amount of decent planeswalker removal still, even with some of the newer sets. So yeah, I like it. I think that's a shoe in there. So things that ramp us into land. Search land. So, search your library. Oh, don't argue with me now. I'm still working on my syntax skills. Well, that's just way too many cards. So, what's the elf that lets you search your library for a forest card? I forget what the hell it's called. Oracle Madaya. Ooh. Cavalier. We talked about Cavalier earlier. So the Cavalier cycle. Yeah. You're not wrong. I was thinking wood in my head, and I was like, I couldn't. Yeah. So we're gonna dump those in there. I love these effects in this deck specifically because let's just look at Wood Elves real quick. It's got Cultivate Mana on it, so it's 2 and a green. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a forest card, and put that onto your battlefield, then shuffle your library. So it just says a forest card. It doesn't have to be a basic. It could be a non-basic forest card, right? You can get a shock land with this if you needed to. You can get one of the old school dual lands, right? But with Yarok, this is going to trigger twice. So you're going to pay 3 mana. You're going to get a 1/1 body on board to chump block, and you're going to mana ramp using it. Awesome card. Awesome shoe-in. Farhaven Elves. Let's see that guy. Whoa. That's not correct. That's not correct either. There we go. Enters the battlefield, you search the library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Same exact effect, except they come in tapped, so it's not as good as Wood Elf, but it's close. So we'll throw that guy in there. Spring Bloom Druid. I like it. These are awesome. Now, we do want to be careful that we're not adding so many cards in here that are just like 1/1s that mana ramp us. Because eventually we need to do something with that mana. So let's just keep that in mind as we're putting together 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tap. See, now that is an effect. I think this goes in over Farhaven Elf. I think that is the substitution there because the Farhaven Elf, it is going to search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. So if Yarok is in play, now again, we can't rely on that, but if he is, you're going to put 2 lands tapped on the battlefield for 3 mana. Good value. The Spring Bloom Druid, on the other hand, you're going to sack a land, and we may have sack land effects in here, right? We could run Titania in this. Tireless Tracker, 100%. I love that idea. I think it's brilliant. Spring Bloom Druid is going to put us 4 basic land cards on the field. I don't even think that's a debate here. I think Farhaven's going to come out, and we're going to keep the Spring Bloom Druid in there. Tireless Tracker. I love this card. I love what this card does. It's a little draw engine. Now, you do have to pay mana into this, but we are kind of a big mana deck, so it kind of works out with us. Whenever a land enters the battlefield you control, investigate. Investigate is put a clue token on. You can pay 2 and sack it to draw a card. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. Now, this is a little bit go tall, but it is an awesome little draw engine in a landfall deck. So I think it's a great include. I love it. How many cards do we have in here? I think I'm going to take the Jati out. I feel like it just doesn't work. I like the idea of it, but I feel like in this deck, we just want to be aggressive and go wide and get weird. That's it. I think we want to be able to flash things in too. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Let's try to aim for maybe 13 to 15 creatures in the deck. I think it's a good number. And then we'll make sure that we have a decent amount of draws because we're relying a lot on these the token generation to really make this thing to work. I've seen Spore Mound in here a couple times. Let's check that bad boy out. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 Saproling token. Love that. That's just fodder. That's just chump block fodder. Um, I'm okay with that. I think that can work. Worst case, it might be a little bit on the chopping block, but I like where it's going. Zendikar's Royal. So I personally have never played with this card. It may be a feel bad for me, but sorry y'all. So whenever a land enters a control, create a 2/2 green elemental creature token. I love that. I think that's awesome. These are great picks, guys. These are awesome. So to King Koopa's effect, let's talk about pulling some stuff out of the graveyard, right? Because if we play a fetch land and we have the ability to play multiple lands on a turn, we could rip the fetch lands out of our graveyard and play some more and more and more and get a lot of those triggers, right? We can get like 6 of those landfall triggers all in one turn, which would be amazing. So, Ramanap Excavator. You may play land cards from your graveyard. It's a Crucible of Worlds on a creature. They're also the only landfall cards I've ever seen to draw. Yeah. Been there. Yeah. Collector Oofy. Oofy. That is rude, but I kind of like it. All right, let's look at our creature list here and see if we can kind of come up with any other synergies. We can try to put about 3 more creatures in here. I would love to make sure that we have some options and some more things to work with. We got Avenger, we got Oofy to lock down artifacts, Lotus Cobra for that extra mana, ramp, damage, incremental damage, tokens, Ramanap, steal your stuff, create more tokens, mana ramp. Yeah, I'm thinking some card draw and creature may be good. I'm going to put this Dread Presence in here. I'm going to see how it works out. Just so you guys know, I am going to build this deck out. And I'm going to give it a whirl the next time that we go and we play. I think that they would just be awesome to see how this thing pans out, given that we're all over the country. Where are you guys from? I would love to know where you guys are at. I'm in PA. I know some of you are in PA because some of you are my boys, but I don't know some of you guys. So where are you guys at? Where are you guys from? While we're sitting here messing around. Let's see. Where are we at with... Oh, the card draw. Oracle Moldiah, Courser. Oh, a Seedborn. Yo, that would be awesome, right? Oracle of Moldiah. So you play an additional land on each of your turns. Illinois. King Koopa bringing it in. So far, you're winning the race. Tatiova, yes. Solid play. Philly! I know that guy. Holla. Shout out to Philly. All right, so Courser. Crufix. So is this just a work? If we're running Oracle, do we want to run Courser? That's my only debate to that. I'm gonna sideboard Courser. I love Courser. I think it's great. But if we're running Oracle and we're running a couple other things that kind of give us those extra land droppy type things, it may not be worth it to me. You know what I mean? Tatiova is definitely worth it to me, though. This girl is just... shout out to my man, Harry. This is his favorite card in... Ooh, Sweden. Welcome to the party, Sweden. How are you? Dude, isn't it like 1 a.m. over there? Y'all got like a 6-hour differential, I think, or something like that. That's insane. Dude, shout out to you. Much love. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. All right. 2, actually. It's 2 a.m. Dude, I love your style. Are you working night shift? Because if you're working night shift, tune in every Thursday. I got your back, Jack. We're going to do something great. It is 8 o'clock. Dude, we have we got an hour to go through all of our deck. This is going to be amazing. I am so into this right now. Seedborn Muse. How are we feeling about Seedborn? I love Seedborn Muse. I think that it's got all the who's and what's on it. Plus, if you want to pay 9 mana with a Vidalcan Orrery, you can get a Prophet of Crufix on board, because, you know, that's the thing. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. Are we feeling? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle? Give you guys a hot second to think on that one. I love it, though. Oh, yeah. All right. I like your style. Actually, yeah, I didn't even think of that. We're running blue. We're adding a lot of green creatures in here. We got a couple blue ones. We got a couple black ones. Do we want to add anything that's got that blue-black feel to it? It's got that extra to it. If not, we got 16 creatures on board right now. I think we could probably dive into our sorceries. Flash speed? What do you mean Flash? I don't think Flash is a Magic the Gathering card, but actually it might be. But let's see. There's probably a there is. Ooh. I see. Oh, well, yeah, I know that one. Scarab God could get our good creatures back and works with doubling season. Let's look at Scarab God. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. Sorry, target to create a token of it. Except we gotta exile it out of the graveyard. Thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat. Are we gonna put this in there? I get the idea. I get the principle behind it. But it's not. I don't know if it. So it enables the landfall in a janky way. In that, if somebody gets really irritated with us and blows up our Rampaging Baloth or our Avenger or something, we can just kind of embalm it back out or eternalize it back out. Like, so it is a landfall in that way, but is that a couple too many loops? You guys let me know. What do we think? There's only a couple of you in there, so this is our brew. It's at 5 mana. We're running a lot of 5 mana right now. I don't really like it from that perspective. I think it's nah. We were talking about Flash. We're okay. What's going on? Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's a couple too many loops there, but all right. So let's take a break off of our creatures for a second. So far we have Avenger, Collector Ufi, Dread Presence, Lotus Cobra, Nissa Vastwood Seer, Obnixilis the Fawns, Oracle of Moldiah, Rampaging Baloth, Ramanap Excavator, Royal Elemental, Seedborn Muse, Spore Mound, Spring Bloom Druid, Tatiova, Tireless Tracker, and Wood Elves. That is a lot of ramp. That is a lot of cards. That's a lot of steal your stuff. It's also probably more expensive than we would like. But so far, our curve is looking a little... It's getting there. You're seeing a little bit of love here. I like it. I like it. I like where we're going. So let's dive into some of these instants and sorceries. Let's talk about them. So with our instants, we want to do things that draw us cards, obviously. We want to have counters in this deck to make sure that we can deliver that blow that we're looking for. We may want to think about stuff that's like Growth Spiral that enables us to put extra lands into play. For the love of God, don't say Explore. I hate that card. I think there's so many better things that you can do with a 1-drop. I don't like it. Honestly, I don't even like Growth Spiral in EDH. I like it in Standard, but in EDH, I just feel like at 2 mana, there's a lot of other things that we can do. That's just my personal thing. So, what instants and sorceries do you guys think would be really awesome for this deck? So, instant. Draw. Card. King Koopa. We talked about the Explorer. Exploration's an enchantment, and I do believe belongs in this deck, and we're going to get there. There's just so many instants and sorceries. We're going to need to dig deep into the Brain Vault here and figure this out. Do you guys want to start with the enchantments first? Do you guys think that that would be easier? So we already have 5 enchantments. Rampant Growth, Kadama's Roots. Well, yes. So here's a thing that is a deck design thing that I'm going to start. And I'd really love for you guys to like go tell your friends about this show. Bring them in here. Let's all do this together. You know, let's get crazy with this. I love the fact that we're doing this. But so the thing that I do with my deck brews is this thing called packaging. Packaging is when people say, oh, it's my draw engine, or it's this, or these are my ramp cards, or so on and so forth. A lot of decks run the same cards that do the same thing. So, for example, what Kinjin Sun, is that what we're going to... I believe that's right. Kinjin Sun said, Rampant Growth, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, Explosive Veggies, and Harrow. And then King Koopa added Sky Shroud Claim. Those cards are what I call the EDH ramp package. That enables you to just dig for whatever. On any mana as well. Right? So we have our Rampant Growth, which is our 1 mana. Go shopping for some land. We got our Kodama's Reach. More mana. We got our Cultivate. Add that in there. We got our Explosive Veggies. Add that in there. We're going to add our Harrow. We're going to add our Sky Shroud Claim. Now, with all of these guys, we got to remember that this is all of our ramp package. So we want a draw package as well. Now, CEDH draw package is something that's like Ancestral Recall and Ancestral Visions and Treasure Cruise and stuff like that. Let's try to not get insane with the power level of some of the draw spells. I'm good for creating some high power draw. But we got to remember, this isn't a CEDH deck. It's just a nice, casual, optimized, focused deck. We definitely want a counter package in here. Let's do the draw package since we kind of put our ramp package in here already. Let's do our draw package because I think that that's something that we really want to work on and kind of flesh out. So what are some good draw cards with this commander? If a creature pops into your brain while we're thinking about this, feel free to just fire it out there. That's fine. That's my son in the background, just in case any of you are curious. He's very upset because it's bedtime. FOF. Oh, God. I'm having a brain fart. Darn. Print that one out for me, my guy, because I can't remember what it is. I have to apologize. So. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, definitely wouldn't have guessed that one. Sorry. My brain has been all over. So I also worked my 8-hour work shift today. It was a fun time. I love my job. So I'm here for you guys. We're going to make this awesome. So Fact or Fiction, Shamanic Revelation. Oh, Rishkars. Love it. Love it. Let's look at some stuff that's also in black, right? So we can do some sacrifice stuff because we're going to have so many tokens, right? So what are some black cards that you know, sacrifice 2 creatures, draw 3. I think that's like a diabolic something or another, or anything like that. I mean, we're going to have the materials to really benefit for those sacrifice, draw some cards, right? So fact or fiction, put that in there. Whoa. Well, that's not fact or fiction. Interesting. Got a little bug on that one. Let's do the Shamanic Revelation. Draw a card for each creature you control. That card is busted in this deck because we are going to have so many creatures that it is going to be so much value for 5 mana. It is expensive. Let's remember about our curve. We are going to ramp really well. But let's just keep that in mind as we're adding in these cards, right? We're in blue. There's nothing wrong with running opt, right? Checking out that top. Rich cards, bonkers. Harmonize. Yep, Harmonize is a powerhouse. Now we're adding a ton of 4 and 5 mana cards in here, so let's be careful with how many we're throwing in there. Just because we want to make sure that we're not overdoing that mana curve. We want to make sure that we isolate it out and we make sure that we hit all of our drops there. Underrealm Lich. You will draw a card. Instead, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put 1 in your hand and the rest in the graveyard. I like this, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to end up milling ourselves because, remember, we do have some effects that are going to say when this enters in, draw a card or anything like that, right? I would love to put some of those effects in here, and this becomes a dangerous thing. Now, if we're running a great power graveyard deck, I think this would be great. I don't think it fits in this deck, though. Let's look at Painful Truths. For any of you guys that are new, I see you in here. Shout out into the comments. We're adding in our kind of instant and sorcery cards currently, and we're looking to build out our draw package on our Yarok Brew. So anything that's in Sultai colors, we're in a go wide token strategy. Throw them in here, and we'll see what we can get. Painful Truths is interesting. Pay 3, draw 3, basically. That's as good as it can get. I don't think I like that because there's a card. Draw 2, lose 2. I like that because of the scry. You're basically looking at the top 4 cards of your deck with this. I'm going to sideboard this one. What are some... darn. Sacrifice. Creature. Draw. That is... Nope. So stuff like this, right? So Altar's Reap. Let's look at this, right? So 2 mana, sacrifice a creature. We have a billion. Draw 2 cards. That's amazing for us, right? That's what we want. That really works out well for what we're going to do. I'm going to sacrifice a plant token or a sapperling. I'm going to draw 2 cards off of it for 2 mana. I think that's good. And we may also have some death triggers, right? It's not an Aristocrats deck, but I think it works for us. Bankrupt in Blood. Yeah, King Koopa. There we go. Perfect timing. Bankrupt in Blood. It's additional cost. Sacrifice 2 creatures. Draw 3 cards. I'll sacrifice 2 1/1s, and I'm going to draw 3 cards for 2 mana. That's a bonkers ability. That's amazing value off of this card. And it lets us dig deep enough that we can kind of get in there and see what's going on. Blood Divination. 4 mana. 4 mana, draw 3. That's not bad value, but I don't know if it fits here. I don't. So on the counter package, now we're not there yet, but only because this is here. Sacrifice a creature, return up to X cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors that creature was. Sacrifice a creature, return up to X cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors that creature was. Exile this card. Or other spells you control can't be countered this turn. Now, Bound, I don't think is worth the mana. Determined, I like that. I think that is a powerful card. I'm going to throw that one in there. I wouldn't consider it mainly draw. I do think it has some downside, and it might sit in your hand for a minute. So there's some issues with it, but I like it. Life of the Loam. I do love Life of the Loam. Curious Obsession, Disciple Bolus. Disciple of Bolus. How do we feel about that? When it enters the battlefield, so it's going to be a Yarok trigger. Sacrifice another creature. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. Let's look at some rules text here. I don't think that actually works the way we would like it to. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to sacrifice 2. I don't know if that works. I'm going to sideboard this so we can kind of figure it out. It may be an off-stream figure it out, but I don't know if this stacks the way we want, and mainly because of this period, right? So when it enters the battlefield, the ETB is sacrifice a creature. So that's going to trigger twice. So we're going to sacrifice 2 creatures. But the last part says you gain X life and draw X card, where X is that creature's power. Now that doesn't trigger off both creatures, I don't think. I think it will trigger off a 1, and I don't think that you get to choose it. I don't know if this works the way we want it to. If it does, 100% include. But if not, I just don't think it. I don't think it's working. Yeah, right. So we want to be careful with kind of how that pans out. Greater Good. I don't like to discard a Greater Good. I think it's a little tough. So let's look at some of these. So Life of the Loam. Oh, Life from the Loam. Excuse me. Excuse me. We went to the bank there. So return up to 3 target lands from graveyard to your hand. Dredge 3. And we can return it. All right. I do like this just from the pure card advantage that you get with it. Yawgmoth is awesome. I do agree with that. Only 11 cards with Yawgmoth in the name. Since we're here. Alright. Sacrifice creature. Yep. So in this deck, I don't think that this works as good as we want. Just because this effect, we don't really get a lot of value out of this. There's no ETB, there's no land interaction, there's no anything like that. There is the pay a life, draw a card clause, but we do have to sacrifice a creature. And if I'm sacrificing a creature, we need to make sure that we're getting like maximal value out of it. And it just doesn't, I don't think that fits that kind of mold. We need a couple more instants. So let's move on from that, and let's talk about the counter package, because I know that that's something that we kind of want to delve into, and really we want to make sure is strong, right? So what counters should we put in here, right? So we have counter spell, and that's a good one regardless, right? You would sack 2 and draw for each of their stats separately. Did you oracle that, or how did we determine that is how that works? Because if that's how that works, Disciple is hella good in this deck. Give me some counter spells while we're working on this, guys. It's 826. We're doing good. We're at 39 cards right now. All right, we're putting Disciple in. I like it. Disciple is getting in there. Move to the main board. Let's talk about our counterspell package. Let's work on that. I like I want to make sure that we're really capitalizing on those effects so that we can kind of make sure that when we play things, they're going to resolve regardless, right? We want to make sure that everything's hitting all the stuff that we want to hit. Right? If I play Escape Shift and sack 7 lands to the cast trigger, I want to make sure that thing resolves, or I'm going to be real upset. So, what counter spells do you guys have out there to throw in this bad boy? Ooh. That's in the removal category, my guy. But I don't think that we can ignore it. So we'll pop it in there. But, counter spells. So, I don't want anything in here like mana leak type effects. You know, counter that spell unless they pay blank. Because that, it doesn't help at all. It doesn't make anything kind of better. So, ooh, Veil of Summer. Yo, that card is banana milkshakes. For any of you that don't know or are newer to this whole shindig, Veil of Summer is a 1 green instant card that says draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until the end of turn. Now let's brainstorm a scenario while I smash the crap out of this add to main board button. Where you play, I don't know, we've got a pretty decent board set up and you play Doubling Season. All right. Your opponent it gives you the bird, right? Counters the spell and that's it. He swan songs it. That's all you get. Well, you cast Veil of Summer right after that. You're going to draw a card. And then from that point forward, that's it. You get to play unhindered. You just get to be free with all of your life decisions. It's amazing. Truly is awesome card. It's great in standard. Standard and modern. I believe modern, it found a place in modern in some of those decks. So, but back to our counters. So let's continue talking about blue counters. We got stuff like mana drains and things like that, but that's getting a little up there. $80 card, but I suppose we got some other broken shenanigans in there. What other stuff would you guys put in here? Let's see. Counter. Target spell. I'll be a master at this by the end of this. It's going to be amazing. There's 184 counter spells. How? Why? Disallow's awesome. Narset's Reversal, solid one. I do like Disallow. It's extremely versatile, which is just great. Narset's Reversal. So Narset's Reversal, copy target instant spell, and then return it to its owner's hand. So, do we like bounce effects in this? Do we want to like do that? I'm not 100% sure with it. I love Narset's Reversal in certain decks. Like, you could go infinite in a ton of different ways using this card in Is It colors with like Mana Geyser and shit like that, where you copy it, but you cast Mana Geyser, then cast Narset's Reversal on it, return it to your hand, copy it, cast it again, and then cast and just loop it on through. There's a bunch of different ways to use it, but yeah. Tishana would be nice. I like the card draw. We're going to end up drawing the entire deck, but we're also going to end up having most of our stuff either countered or thrown in the bin or removed. I mean, we could go like a hyper aggressive direction here. But yeah, so that's a strong counterspell package, right? So we got our negate. We're just trying to get you guys there. The non-creature spell is a little limiting. I don't like situational effects like that. But They are good. Arcane Denial. There's stuff like Memory Lapse, which is another one. Arcane Denial is nice. Swan Song has to go in because that's the life you live. Swan Song is just good. Memory Lapse. Counter target spell. If a spell is countered this way, put it on top of its owner's library instead of the player's graveyard. I actually prefer this to Narset's Reversal. And the only reason why is because this not only it puts the card back in their hand, but it cuts off their next draw as well, right? So they play with this same set of cards for their turn now and their following turn. So there isn't like an additional, there's no change to that. There's no variability to it. You control how that's going to pan out. So I'm going to put Memory Lapse in here. I like that more just because. Commit to Memory. I'm not huge on split cards just because they always end up sitting in my hand for like God knows how long. I mean, it's like hyper tuck, but would I rather just run like a 2 mana counter spell and just counter it and put it in the bin? You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, there is that, but are we? So one of the deck building principles that kind of exists out there is how many layers deep do you want to go in your cut, right? So do you want to say, well, it does this, and then if we get to this point, it'll also do this, and then if we get to this point, it'll also do this. You're very rarely going to get to that point where that second or third thing really matters. It's the first thing that really means something to your brew in the long run. So for that reason, I just that's one of the reasons why I don't really like split cards. Is just they're trying to do something and they're trying to do two things, and it's secondary to whatever you're trying to accomplish on the front end. Now that's not to say there isn't good cards. It's just not. I just don't think this is it. Counter, target, spell, CMC, less than 2. Clash of Wills, Condescend, nope, nope, nope. Mental Misstep. Run Outwit. Ooh, Pact and Negation. I'm gonna put that in here. I like Pact. In this deck specifically, Pact and Negation is not that bad. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you want to pay 3 and blue if you don't lose the game. Pact and Negation is a 0 cost counter target spell, instant speed card. So you play it for free, and then on your next upkeep, you pay 3 and 2 blue, and then you're good. So it's just, it saves you in a lot of situations. Siren is meh. Spell Stare, Syncopate. So we got no, nope. I cantrip like counter spells, but I don't like those either. They're not a big thing for me. Dash host when you cast this spell, any player may pay 5. They do counter it. I don't like that either. Autumn's Veil does kind of the same thing as Veil Summer. No card draw. Gotcha. I mean, then why would we? I mean, we can check it out. But I like the card draw that comes with the Veil of Summer. I think that definitely helps. Disdainful Stroke. There's a card. Situational. Plasm Capture. Ooh. Never even heard of that. How much mana is that there, Kinjinson? Intervene. No. 4, but it's also a ramp. Gotcha. Okay. I'm definitely going to look into that. I think once we add a couple more of these, I think we're good on our counterspell package. We want to probably run 6 or 7 different counterspells just to make sure that we can kind of hold it and reserve it for when that really counts. Remand. That's fine. You know, if we're running Remand, we should run Narsets over that. That just makes more sense. Okay. Alright, we're going to go up here. We're going to Plasm Capture because I'm curious as to what that is. Plasm Capture. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next pre-combat main phase. Add X. Oh. So it's a mana drain for multiple colors. Interesting. What set did this even come out of? Oh, this was in a dual deck. Wow. Yo, Kinjinson went into the vault for this one. My goodness. I like it, my dude. This is an interesting one. This is a counterspell that is a gotcha counterspell where you kind of are just dirtling out and no one's ever seen it before, and then out of nowhere you just play it and then that's it. You got them. Solid pick, my guy. Solid pick. All right. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that how it always is? We should play this spell because this spell has been played against me way too many times and I've lost to it a billion times. I've been there, my guy. I've been there. All right. Let's see here. Let's go back to our deck list. We got about 10 cards left. Denial. Bound. So that gives us that. Psych Rift, Disallow, Mana Drain, Memory Lapse, Negate. I think we're good with the counter spells. Yeah, my guy. So we're actually I'm going to take the stream. I actually chop it up and then I put it out on YouTube. It'll be up on Twitch for, I think it's like 48 hours or something like that. So you can just pull it up and you can watch it. I'm going to put it up on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is DeckDesign MTG. We also have our Discord server. If you go to deckdesignmtg.com, it'll literally have all the links up top to all of our media, everything. YouTube channel, Discord, Patreon, the whole thing. So go on there real quick before you hit the sack. Go like and get into everything, and then you'll be able to find it no matter where you're at. So I appreciate you being here for as long as you did. Get some rest, my guy. Sweden is a long ways away, so you get some rest, and we will see you next Thursday to kick some more ass. Continuing down here. So King Koopa, let's top off these enchantments here. Then we're gonna throw some lands in this bad boy and call it a night. We got about 20 minutes. We got 10 minutes to top off these enchantments and lands. Thank you, Kinjin-san. Have a good night, my buddy. For the viewers that just came in, how are you? What's going on? We're finishing off our enchantments right now. We have 5 in there currently. We're running 17 creatures. We got 11 sorceries, 14 instants, and we're going to touch up these enchantments to make sure that we're not missing anything for a go-wide Yarok strategy for our Yarok landfall type deck. Ristic Study, King Koopa, crushing it. Has been in there all night. I'm going to give you guys some extra points on our little Twitch leaderboard down at the bottom there. I don't know if you guys see that on Twitch, but there's a leaderboard there, and it has points for the people that follow me and the people that have been watching the stream and stuff like that. For you guys that spend the most time in the chat, interacting the most, I'm going to throw a couple extra points out there, and as we build the channel, there's going to be giveaways and stuff like that that go along with that leaderboard. So keep up the awesomeness that you guys are doing right now. I've been having a blast with you guys. It's been awesome. So, Song of the Dryads. Or Dirads. Whatever one that you like. Whatever one suits you. You know what I mean? These spells I hate when they're played against me. Like, I absolutely despise when this is played, but it's also so good. It goes very nicely with a blue card called Imprisoned in the Moon. Yes. Enchant creature or land or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent is a colorless land with tap, add colorless, and loses all other card types and abilities. So this is blue's version of that card. It is also hella rude and hella in this deck. For our enchantments, do we want to play anything that gives us some extra land opportunities? And to that point, do we want to add in maybe a couple more creatures that enable us to play more lands per turn? Right? So, example being Souza. Zusa? Did I just get real dyslexic? I did. I mean, I like this in this because we're adding in those extra landfall triggers, right? So this is going to give us three landfall triggers. If I play 3 fetches, we're gonna get there. Splendid Wreck, yup, good call. Splendid Wreck. World Shaper we need to add in there as well. And we didn't go over our artifacts either. Let's spend this last little bit doing some artifacts and then lands, and then we'll call it. The artifacts, we want to make sure that we're running our Crucible, right? We want to make sure that we're running our Soul Ring. Now, we're not running a ton of artifacts, just anything that's really good. Nice. Sylvan Library. Solid pick. Miri's Guile. I've never heard of that. Interesting. Beginning your upkeep, you may look at the top 3 cards and put them back in any order. Interesting. Wow. So it's like a super powered Sensei's in green. Yeah, why not? I mean, shit, let's go. So, all right. We got 60 cards in here. We did it. Let's look at our mana curve while we're sitting in here. Look at our mana curve. Look how beautiful this is. So the purple is our permanents, right? And the gray is our other spells. All right. So at 0, we got our Pact of Negation. At 1, we're running 2, 3, 4, 5 cards at 1. No creatures, which is a little bothersome, but it is what it is. At 2, we're running 2 creatures, 3 sorceries, 7 instants, and 2 enchantments. I mean, we're running power ramp in this once we get there. This is where things start getting weird. So we got our Wood Elves, we got our Spring Bloom Druid. So 3 is really when we start kicking off. Ooh, solid point, my friend. Let's put a couple 1-drop creatures in here. We need something that comes out quick and early. It's paramount to the deck to be able to do that. Or we need something that ramps us early, right? So I'm thinking we add in the small creature mana tapper abilities. So our Llanowar Elf and our Bird of Paradise, I think that both of them work here. I mean, they're both. So Bird of Paradise is any color. Land of War is just green, but I think that's where we want to be. Yeah, we can't really. Yeah, Birds of Paradise. So we'll throw those in there, and that gets us to 60 creatures overall, and adds a little bit to that bottom curve. So that helps smooth us out a little bit. So we're at 3. 3 is looking really good in terms of those landfall triggers, the ability to play more lands. One banned in every format. I am not sure. Green, black elf, exile stuff from the graveyard. I'm not sure, my guy. Let's see if we can look it up. Color is equals green, black, type elf. Oh, Deathrite. There it is. Just for some graveyard hate, why not? You know, let's just put it in there. I like it. If you can play with Deathrite Shaman, play with Deathrite Shaman. Just have some fun with it. If you're coming in and you're new to the channel at all, throw us a follow. We do EDH deck brews every week with the group chat. We've been brewing together this super sweet Yarok the Desecrated brew, and having a ton of fun while we're in here doing it. We're looking currently at our mana curve, which is looking really nice. We got a nice early curve here that gives us a lot of land ramp to really kind of bring us home into what we want. Let's look at 4. Disciple, we got Dread Presence for some more land ETBs. We got Moldiah for some extra lands. World Shaper for when we get rid of said lands. More draw, ramp spells. We got some counter spells in here. We got our Parallel Lives, which looks good. Our 5. So we got Obnixilis, Seedborn. Our 5 drops are phenomenal. They are very powerful, and that's amazing. So really good picks on these 5 drops here. Balos and Royal Elemental, and then up here we got the Avenger of Zendikar and our Bound and Determined. When we're really only going to play it for Determined. Determined is the card that we're trying to pull out here. Determined is other spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities this turn. So it acts like a Veil of Summer for a green and a blue, regardless of whether or not somebody played anything. It's just a super good card for this brew. I think it works really well here. Utility lands. So let's do that while we're in here. We got 2 lands in there right now. Let's do that real fast. If we look at our mana curve down here on the bottom, we've got 64% of our deck is green, 13% is black, and 23% is blue. We want to add in all of the lands that add green and blue, and so on and so forth. Land, color goes green, blue. Nope. Let's just see what the billions of land cards are. For you guys that are in there, can you ramble off the our shock lands and stuff like that? We have I can't remember the exact names of them. 2 life. Land. So Beseju, that's a cool one. That would be interesting. We got our breeding pool. We got our overgrown tomb. We got our watery grave. We're good to go there. So there's all of our shock lands. We want to fetch out our forest and stuff like that. So let's search your library. So So here's our fetches. Um, it shouldn't be a blank screen. Hi, Jensky. We should be active right now. We should be up. I don't think that it's a blank screen. I'm sorry. Maybe it's something with your setup. Let me know if there's something I can do there. I think that we're good right now. Um, so, we got some searches there. We could do these utility lands like Blighted Woodland. Whoa. Hi, Jensky. And you're following now. I appreciate you, sir. Welcome all the new followers and everybody. I really appreciate you guys being here. We're a new channel, but I think we're doing something really cool and really unique and brewing all these new decks and doing it all together as a community. So we're trying to wrap up this land base here for this Yarok brew. I like the idea of adding in some of these lands that you sack them and you go get more lands. Basically, they're just the awkward fetches, right? Now, I don't want to run every fetch land in here. I do want to run the ones that, like, you know, matter to our colors. So, to that end, so our Misty Rainforest, I think, is a good one. Myriad Landscape is great. A Polluted Delta, we can put that in there. Prismatic Vista is just awesome. For anybody that's trying to brew out their land base, Prismatic Vista is just great for getting those basics that you're missing. If you've ever been land screwed and you're trying to find one single land, Prismatic Vista gets you there pretty consistently. So, I put Evolving Wilds in here. I'm not going to put Terramorphic because I don't like them overwhelmingly. They do fix you, but I think if we put some better stuff in here, we'll be good. Verdant Catacombs is good. Warped Landscape, not so much. I think that's about it. I'm going to go up here, and there's not like a Sultai Panorama land. I don't think there's a Sultai Panorama. There's definitely not. All right, so up here we're going to add in two things. I think we're going to add in this Blighted Woodland just for the two basic land cards. I like the two of them. So the off-color fetches I like, but it takes up room in the deck for lands that can be usable for us. You know what I mean? I don't know. I see your point. I do. So we're in the fetches right now. Like, what's the benefit of running the Arid Mesa, right? Like, we can't. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't have any limitation to it. The Bloodstained Mire. You know what? Let's put them in. Let's see how it looks. Let's kind of just see how it goes. The Flooded Strand. Do we want to do slow fetches? I don't like. If we can run the fast fetches, then the slow fetches just seem to work better. I think that they do what we want to do more effectively. And a Marsh Flats. That's 6 of the 10. I think. I like that. That's okay with me. What other utility lands are out there for this brew? And for those of you that are following in the show right now, if you know any other utility lands that we can really put in here, shout them out, man. I'm open for all of them. We are running Urborg in here, so whenever you're running Urborg, I mean we should run our Cabal Coffers, right? That just makes sense. So we'll put that in there. Bajukabog, solid, yep. Now remember, we are a very green deck as well, so if we have any utility lands that have green... Oh, guys, we forgot one of the best enchantments for this deck. Oh, how did we do it? Growing Rights of It. Lamarck. Guys, this is... I don't know how we missed this one. This is like one of my favorite cards. Hold Hopefully it loads up. Should load up. Let's go back to our deck list. We'll do it that way. Growing rights. There we go. So this banana milkshakes turns into a Gaia's Cradle, and that is just everything the dreams were made of for a token deck. So, all right, land strategies. We got 17 lands in here so far. We're at 79 cards. That puts us at 38 lands that we can put in here. So we have about 21 lands left. Well, we definitely need to put some basics in here. But what other utility lands can we really get out of this? Is there anything that's graveyard recursion like that we can do this that works for us? So let's T-land graveyard. Let's see. So Academy Ruin, put target artifact, so that's useless for us. Buried Ruin, that's no good. No. Crypt of Agadine. We don't run enough black creatures, and we're tokens, so that's not going to work. That won't work. Top card of the library, so we're not milling anybody. I mean, feel free to chime in there, guys, and throw out some options if you have them. Haunted Fengraph, I kind of like that. We do sacrifice some creatures. Oh, dude, for sure. King Koopa, if you guys have new cards that are just got released, by all means, throw them in there. Let's see how they work with this deck, you know? There's plenty of cards that have those effects on them. If Scryfall has them up, we can get them on here. That's our limitation. Other than that, I'm up for anything. So, let's continue here. Lotus Veil. No. I don't want to do that. That's a little aggressive for what I like to do. Mortuary Miner. You put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Yes, please. That doubles twice with Yarok. So we're going to put 2 creatures on top of our library so we can stack them accordingly, which is amazing. Target land card from your graveyard to your hand. That's a little bit much. I don't think that we're going to get the value out of that we're quite looking for. Search is a good enchantment, but No. Volrath Stronghold. I like that. Is it strictly better than? Let's look. Let's see. Now, I will tell you that if it's not in Scryfall, it's not going to show up. So, which is Cottage. It's not in here yet, unfortunately. But just for the chat, which is Cottage. Let's look at what this it isn't Scryfall. We got to do an update in here. So enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more swamps. Yes, that is a strictly better than Mortuary Mire. That is an amazing card and an amazing find. Unfortunately, it's not in here quite just yet. They do an update every morning, I think, with this site. So tomorrow morning, we should be able to kick that card in there. But that is an amazing card for this deck. I love it. I think it's great. I mean, we're looking good with a lot of our lands. I mean, we're running 20 non-basic lands, basically. That gives us 18 basics. So, I mean, we can just quick add the basics in here. So, if we want to fix the curve up a little bit, I think we just added, we got 10 in there. We can throw some more blue in there. Throw a black, a blue, a green, a green, a green, and another green. And that's it, guys. I think we did it. I think we got there. Um, Made it happen. I love the deck. I love the idea that what we came up with here. Um, it just looks like a lot of fun. Not only that, it's an easy to play deck overall, right? So Yarok itself, you just have to remember your triggers, which, I mean, I say that like it's easy, but in Commander, the trigger stack can get a little bit insane. Um, but with that being said, it's not terrible to to just remember you're going to double up on these things. So things with Avenger, Azusa, Birds of Paradise, Collector, Deathrite Shaman, so on and so forth. All of these cards, they're amazing in this deck. They ramp us really well. They do a lot of really cool landfall things. And that's really what we want. We want to be able to hit all those landfall triggers. Now, we do have enough lands here that if by chance we get set up enough, we have 20 lands that are all their own name, right? So we can still get Field of the Dead triggers, which is a great thing. That, you know, if we scape shift on Field of the Dead, we want to make sure that we're capitalizing on that and using that to our advantage. Looking at our curve here a little bit, I'm going to take 2 of these forests out. I'm going to add 2 swamps in, just to kind of level it out a little bit. But looking at our draw spell package, right? So we're a token deck, so we can sack these creatures and get great value out of sacrificing them by drawing more cards. Looking at our enchantment package, which is really, I think, the powerhouse of what this deck enables, right? Doubling season, exploration, huge mana ramp, board protection, top deck filtering, more tokens, draw spells, more protection. Like, we have a lot of things that are really, really crucial to what this deck's trying to do. And it's amazing. And it's a great brew. I've had a ton of fun doing it. It's 9:04. We're going to wrap this up. I had a great time with you guys tonight. Please, by all means, tell your friends that we're here. I'm a growing channel. I really want to grow this into something beautiful and something great. I think that we have a really cool thing that we're doing here that is done nowhere else. No channel brews with their following live and interactively. They're just, it doesn't happen, and it's because it tends to be more complicated. I appreciate all of you guys for coming out, and I really love spending the time with you, and I look forward to doing this every week. I'm doing improvements every week, and I'm excited to continue doing this. So, King Koopa, I appreciate you giving me the follow. If any of you other guys are in here that are following, give me the like on the video here. We are trying to hit our affiliate by the end of September. I think it would be great to do that because I can give back to you guys more quality streams, and we can do this as much as we want. So with that being said, guys, you guys have a great rest of your night, great rest of the week. Keep killing it. Go into moxfield.com, check this deck out, print it out, proxy it, go play with it. Let me know how it goes, and we'll talk about it next week. So with that being said, I love you guys, and have a great night, all right? Peace.